Morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Give it a minute for everybody to get on. So does anybody want to guess what the two secrets to not having a roller coaster business are, or at least from today?
Solid database.
Database, yeah. Who said that?
Bobby G.
Hey, Bobby.
Morning.
That is one of them. And how is your database, by the way?
It needs some cleaning up, but I feel truthfully it's the backbone of my business. But with that said, I still need to clean it up quite a bit.
And just to be clear, this wasn't a setup, right? We didn't talk about it.
No, not at all.
And number two?
Consistency, contacting your database.
So number two is it's in line with that. It's time blocking, right? Because what you don't block doesn't happen, right? Does anybody have the best intentions and don't get things done at times?
All of us.
Yep.
And and Bobby, I believe you're still on track to have one of your better years, right?
One of my better years, yes. Maybe not the best. I had a great year last year. I don't know if I'm going to reach that same level, but I'm still having a good year.
And do you mind sharing, like, how do you use your database and how could you improve, your use of that database? Because everybody's different. I think the first thing is, starting with the database and having it be functional. So like, what is your process for, tapping into that?
Well, the thing that is very successful, which coming into the time frame now, is my holiday calendars. I've been doing that for over 20 years, and I've kind of created a monster because now people are calling me up in October saying, am I going to get my calendar this year? So I put out somewhere around 450 calendars every year. Some are hand delivered, some are mailed. But once the calendars go out, that kind of gives me a reason to reach out to people to say, hey, did you get your calendar? How was your year? How you doing? And then, depending on how the conversation goes, you always ask them for referrals. And the holiday calendars are good for easily 3 or 4 deals a year for me.
Fantastic. And do you regularly call? Do you do any events? Like, how do you keep in touch outside the holidays?
Sometimes it's with an email campaign. One of the things I'm doing this month, it's fire prevention month. So I'm reaching out to people to remind them to look at their smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, make sure the batteries are in, make sure they're functioning, fire extinguishers, that sort of stuff. Doesn't cost you a dime. It's an email that you send out to a block of people at a time. And some people respond with a thank you, and every now and then you get a phone call saying, geez, I'm glad you reached out because my son's looking for a house, or my grandmother has to sell her house, something like that. So it does produce business.
So I'm going to put a challenge out there for everybody, and Mr. Golden, you as well. Do you normally mail those 400 calendars?
Well, like I said, a portion of them are mailed. Probably at least 200 of them are mailed because people are out of the area or even out of state. But I hand deliver close to 250 of them.
Wow. You're taking my thunder. I was going to say, I'd like you to hand deliver the ones that are local, not because you're saving money, but because it gives you the opportunity to have a conversation, shake a hand, reconnect. And that's way more powerful than them just receiving it in the mail, in my opinion.
And I do take care of the local, the hand delivered calendars are Woodbridge Township, Perth Amboy, Carteret. Those are the towns in my area that I can easily hand deliver. And you don't have to do them all in a day. I mean, I take maybe 20 one day, maybe 20, 25 the next day. I'll focus in on the town. So it takes me a couple of weeks to do it, but right after Thanksgiving, I start hand delivering them, and usually by the end of December, I got it all knocked out.
And you genuinely, I think you genuinely enjoy those conversations as well. It's a lot, it builds upon the relationship more than just dropping it in the mail, in my opinion. And I guess you probably would agree since you're already doing it, right?
I'm amazed how many people still enjoy getting the calendar and still use the calendar. Every now and then someone will say to me, Bobby, I do a Google calendar now. I don't need the printed calendar, but thanks for stopping by. But the vast majority of people still like the old fashioned wall calendar that they could look at and write on.
Yep. Well, that's right up the alley. What I want to take a moment to do before we go any further is I want to introduce Elizabeth Rodriguez Hernandez in our Broward Palm Beach area of our Florida team. She is our managing broker and helping us spearhead integrating our ancillary title and mortgage into our value proposition. If you want to wave or say a word there, Elizabeth, welcome to the team. All right. So in terms of if Bobby,
Rob, if I could just add one thing to what Bobby Golden just said about, and you said about, you know, even though they may use their Google Calendar, whatever, and thank you, but I don't need a paper calendar anymore. They still love being recognized by you as someone who's important to you, that you would take the time to come talk to them and meet with them. And that is, a tremendous plus.
Yep. And Robert, what percentage of, I'm going to put you on the spot here because I know you've heard this 100 times. What percentage of closed transactions were satisfied with their agent? Just a ballpark.
95%.
It's with a couple of percentage points. That's pretty much the number that always turns up. Now, do you remember what percentage actually uses their agent for the next transaction?
I believe it's something ridiculous like 13%.
Exactly. So the bridge between the 90% satisfaction and the 13% repeat is the relationship and staying in touch and keeping them in the database, showing that you care, having those conversations. I can't, make it any more clear. The numbers have been like that. I mean, Robert, we were talking about the similar numbers since you started, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So it's a tremendous opportunity for us to connect. Now, I want to give you all a tip that can help you exponentially grow that business when you're making those connections and keeping in touch with your clients. It's instead of looking at your clients and, Bobby, you said you had 450?
Yes.
And Robert Garber, how many do you have like in your sphere and database ballpark?
250.
250. So traditional logic would say Golden, Garber, or both G's, 450, 250, a certain percentage of them are going to be doing a transaction. Just off the cuff, what percentage do you think of, homeowners or your sphere would do a transaction in any given year? Is it 3%, 10%, 5%? I'll start with you, Robert. What do you think?
I would say around 3%.
The 3%. So you're going to have 8 transactions in your database, right?
Yes.
And hopefully you get 90% or more of those. So that would be 5 or 6. And Bobby, what would your estimate be in terms of percentage of people that engage in a transaction?
The 450.
Yeah, like how many of them are going to be buying, selling, buying an investment property, a vacation home, downsizing, upsizing? What percentage?
Um,
One out of 20? Is that about right?
yeah, I was going to say, maybe 3 or 4%. I'm with Robert. It's kind of the same number.
Okay, so 4% out of 450 is going to be 20 that can come out of your sphere and database. That's what traditional agents look at, right? And sending the calendar out keeps them maybe top of mind so that when they're looking to do a transaction, you're the one that they remember, right? But the next level is when you knock on their door, you have a genuine phone conversation. You can ask them if they know of anybody, right? Because how many people do your clients know that are doing a transaction? Right? It's a good question. And either Robert or Bobby, you have clients, I'm sure, that refer you business, over time fairly regularly, right? Those referrers.
And that's where that's where you butter your biscuit, because it may not be the people on the database that are doing the deals, but of that 450, like Robert and I are saying, somewhere between 3 to 4%, but probably somewhere in a higher percentage where those people say, you know what, my neighbor down the street has to sell a house, or the lady around the corner just passed away. And this just happened to me recently, where a neighbor gave me a name and a phone number of a family member because they have to sell their house. So it may not, and that's how your database gets bigger. You expand your business, but it's your database giving you referrals for other business.
Okay.
And
So
then, Rob, if I could just cut in, because I don't want to give anybody the wrong impression. This is not foolproof, because every year I get calendars returned. And when those calendars come back to me, I realize that people sold their house without calling. And that's an eye opener for me. But it happens. It's not a perfect world or anything. But when I see, here I am keeping in contact with somebody doing the right thing, and yet they still move without telling me, that's a motivator for me.
Not everybody's loyal. I mean, I must have probably 400 people in my database, and probably 400 or 500 in my past clients. And that happens to me often, where I'll follow up, make a phone call, or when I do make a phone call, it says number is not listed anymore. So I'll check it out, and I saw that they sold it. And I'll do some history on it. Sometimes they sell for sale by owner, or sometimes they sell by an unknown agent, probably a friend or a relative. It does happen, and unfortunately, it's part of our business, but you have to accept it.
Yep.
do we ever really learn from our successes, or do we usually learn from, our missed opportunities and failures?
Miss opportunities and failures.
Right? Like when somebody when that gets returned and you find out that you missed it, that's an opportunity to reevaluate what you're doing, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. I mean, it is what it is. But following up is so important. That's why you have to stay on top of all your clients at least every 3 months, and then your prospects. I would say, if whatever you have in your database for your prospects, you should stay in touch with them once a month. I send out constant contact email blast to all of them, all my prospects, and the same thing with my past clients, just to keep my name in front of them. So if they have any friends or relatives or anybody that's looking to buy or sell, they're going to think of me. So hopefully, we just got a listing last night from a past client referral.
And Ron, there's a way that those communications can come across as salesy if you're asking them if they know anybody. And there's a way that those communications can come off as, service oriented, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us, we have anxiety about, we don't want to feel like we're groveling for business. Would you agree that some of your students might have that tendency to feel like, oh, I don't want to ask them? Like, how many times do agents, or how many times might we even say, hey, if they know somebody, they know I did a good job, they'll reach out to me? Does anybody ever feel that way?
Yeah.
Be honest, like
Can't-
you want to
can't-
feel that way. Hey, if my client knows of anybody, they're going to reach out to me. But in reality, Ron, does that happen?
No, and that's why,
That was pretty definitive, and I agree with you. Because just doing a good job isn't good enough, right?
unless you stay in touch with them, you got to stay in touch with them.
Because if you don't stay in touch with them, they feel like you don't care, right? They feel like you're just out for that commission.
Yeah, it's like you said, the way you don't come off salesy, and I tell my agents the same thing, is just say, is there anybody that that I can help buy, sell, or invest? I mean, it's a simple question, listen, they know that you're soliciting them for business. I mean, that's your job. It's our job. But if you put it in a certain way, I think it's going to make it a little bit more palatable.
I mean, why? I guess it's because of the nature that we get paid, Ron. But like, when you go to a doctor, you're not like, oh, he's asked, soliciting me for business and repeat business. He's providing a service, right? And somehow we feel a little bit more like we're, commission hounding, right? And I found that the best people in this business really don't think about the dollars. They think about the service. And, for those of you who are newer in the business, that might be a hard one to get your arms around, because you're like, well, yeah, we want to make a commission. But in reality, if you like what you do, you genuinely want to help people, you have unwavering integrity. You're not thinking that way. Okay. You're not feeling awkward when you make a call. Okay. It's almost like you need to feel a moral obligation to talk to your sphere, your clients, and to remind them that you're there to help, right? Because
A lot of the agents feel like they're bothering people, when they make their phone calls. They just feel like, oh, I don't want to bother them, But you know what? If you call your past clients, they know you. I mean, when I call my past clients, unless they're really busy, they'll just say, "Hey, Ron, I'm real busy right now." And I'll just say, I'll make this quick. Do you guys know anybody that I can help buy, sell, or invest? No, not really, but keep me in mind, guys. Okay, that's all I have to say. So stay well, take care, whatever, and you hang up. But a lot of agents are afraid of offending them by bothering them. But that's your job. This is your job. I mean, what can I tell you? It's the way it is.
and sometimes I think, when the market pivots and we need to do a gut check, some people get anxiety, and the anxiety can either empower you or it can immobilize you, right? And when you look around the real estate industry, there are a lot of people that are walking with their heads down saying, wow, this is a tough market. The transactions are down. There's no inventory, right? I mean, you probably see that, Ron. And for me, I'm a career person. I never think about what else would I do. My mission is to serve everybody on this call and everybody that's not on this call by giving you the ability to control your state of mind, to have the consistency, to block the time, and to have the commitment to cleaning up your database. And here's one that hurts really bad, that we've all probably come across. And I'm going to ask Robert, Ron, and Bobby, have you ever had a client that listed with somebody else and they had trouble and said, hey, can you help me out? This isn't going well. I'll start with you, Ron. Have you ever had a client call you and say, oh, I listed with my neighbor's son and it's a disaster. Can you help me out? And they have
Absolutely.
a 6-month listing.
Yep.
That's
Absolutely.
a horrible place, right?
Oh, yeah.
Bobby, how about you? Have you ever had that experience?
The experience I've had is when people say to me, I'm not happy in the situation that I'm in, I should have called you first. And, it's an awkward conversation, and, you just try to handle it as best you can.
And
Yeah,
it even,
sometimes,
it even puts us in a bit of an ethical dilemma too, right? Because somebody has a listing agreement that they sign. We want to talk bad about, other agents, but you have empathy for your client, your sphere, the people you care about, right? And you have this mixed emotion. You might be a little upset. Why didn't they pick me? But then again, you also want to help them, right? I mean, most of us in this industry have a soft spot for helping people, right? And that soft spot is, maybe we put out this exterior where we try to be tough, but that soft spot overcomes, our business acumen. We want to help somebody. We don't want to do stupid things, but we want to help them. Mr. Garber, have you had that instance where, somebody might have, made a selection, then they regret it and say, can you help me now? And they're already under contract with somebody else?
Well, not quite to that last part that they were already under contract with somebody else, but I have had, a client reach out to me and say, I made a mistake, I really should have gone with you. And what can I do now? And, our job is to help. That's what we are. That's what we're in business to do, is to help people. So, I, of course, am always very supportive when I get those phone calls. And whether I'm pissed off internally that they didn't call me to start with, for them, I'm totally committed to helping them.
And Robert, instead of being angry internally, right? Because that's a lot of times, I don't know the instances of yours, but a lot of times that's because, you might have done like one of the best jobs ever. The person loved you, right? They maybe they didn't even get out of touch with you, and then all of a sudden you find out that they made this decision. And I always think we have to look at it internally instead of blaming the people, because the cheap way out of it is to blame the customer, saying, customers aren't loyal. I can't believe they did this to me. I'm the victim. I don't think there's any victims in the business. That's going to be controversial, but I don't think there are, right? Because if you reminded them and they understood the value proposition that you had, okay, they would walk over broken glass to get to you, right? Because they know that system, that process is going to be so much easier. And instead of saying, oh, geez, this person wasn't loyal, that person wasn't loyal. You got three fingers pointing back at you saying that I dropped the ball a little bit, some way, somehow. So my challenge to everybody on the call here is to just write these two things down, is if your database is not healthy and in good shape, it's not an overwhelming task. Okay. It's a pretty simple process, and you can do it a little bit every day. Okay. Clean up that database, things that are going to really endear you to getting more business, and forget about just getting their business, right? Because we're talking about 3 to 4% or 2 to 4% of your clients are actually going to be engaging in a transaction in this next 12 months. But think about how many people they know and they can influence. Okay. And does anybody have a past client or somebody in their sphere that referred them more than one deal? So that would be 2 deals or more in the past year. Does anybody have that? Just put it in the chat or unmute yourself if you have. See, Ron, you raised your hand.
Rob, can I add something?
Sure.
Sorry, I got a sore throat. When you contact these people, it's an old practice, but a good practice. Take down people. You're going to see their licenses and get their information at closing. Jot down their birth dates. When you make that call, it shouldn't start with, do you know somebody I can help? It should start with, I'm calling you, happy birthday to you. Something that's more personal, that happy anniversary on your home. I'm calling to let you guys know what a good investment you made. Your home is, increased in value. share something personal, some kind of information first, and then finish your conversation with, gee, if you guys know anybody I can help, I'd really appreciate it. Uh, if you let them, know, or if you let me know that I'm available to help them like I helped you guys. Something a little more personal. It might make your phone call 5 minutes longer, but it ingratiates you to them. I remember the guy I bought my car from because he always calls me on my birthday. Always. And wishes me a happy birthday. Doesn't ask me if I'm ready for a new car. He just wishes me happy birthday. So, I
Excellent.
mean,
Yeah, excellent point.
Here's how my mind is thinking. Colleen, the person that calls you to wish you a happy birthday that sells cars, if we could somehow even tap into their sphere, right? I mean, they're calling you to say, hey, I appreciate you bought the car for me. I value our relationship. Happy birthday, right? Like if you think exponentially different, how many people does that person and with those skills influence? Right.
hundreds.
And I would say like, he knows somebody saying, hey, you know what, Paul, I'm so glad that you called to wish me happy birthday. My wife and I were planning on buying a new house. And after we buy that new house, we're going to get a brand new car. Bam, there you go. Right. And he's not programmed to think to give you a call. Right. And
Great idea.
here's another thing. It's probably a little bit late for the calendars for most of us, but if you're a Uber local professional, okay, why don't we lean into the local businesses a lot more, right? And maybe see if you could put, even if it's an unpaid thing, put it, hey, my favorite diner is this one, my favorite car wash. Maybe they'd even give a little something to your clients, right? So there's a little value to that that gift that you give them, the calendar, right? And now, even if they don't get anything, you say, hey, Paul, I put your diner on my calendar, can I put something in here? And by the way, who do you know that I could serve? Right? I mean, how many people, Bobby, do you have a favorite diner in town? I don't know if you go to a diner.
Yeah, we have the Rio, kind of famous.
Do you know the owner there?
To say hello, I can't say that I know him that well.
Maybe next time, go out of your way to introduce yourself and, hey, anybody on the staff that I'd love to serve them, right?
Yeah, great
I
idea.
Rob,
mean,
if I can offer also,
are
can you
you?
hear me?
Yes. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? You may not be going away, so that's another story. However, those guys, those of you who have young kids, at every PTA meeting, sports event, recital, Christmas pageant, I would hand give out everything. Oh, you know what? And not act like I had planned it. Oh, I have some extra in my purse. Here's some calendars for the next year. I would do that. I mean, my daughter's 40, so she's long out of school now, but it was really effective then, a lot cheaper than mailing it. In the springtime, you could speak to Walmart and get packages of flower seeds with my business card attached to it and say, here, let the kids put this in a flower pot for Mother's Day or Father's Day. 4th of July in Florida, I walked around hand delivering flags to everyone's house, which almost killed me, but that's another story. But um, I always found the more personal approach at a PTA meeting or at a sporting event or just handing your stuff out hand to hand seems to leave more of an impression than because I get 25 calendars in the mail Christmas time and I'm an agent. So they're just randomly mailing them out.
And Terry, it's really interesting because, if you get known as that groveler at these PTA and these social functions, right, you can be, it comes across really bad. But there is a sincere, genuine way that you can make a connection and a reminder without being a desperate salesperson. And the way that you're speaking, just exudes that contribution piece to it. But if you try to just shortcut and you go there and you don't build relationships, people don't know that you care, and you're saying, hey, do you know anybody I could sell a house to, right? Anybody that I can make a commission off of? That's the wrong message to be. And I don't want to be contradicting myself, but there is a fine line between, being
Pigs,
present,
listening,
and then being salesy.
right.
And I don't know why does the word salesy have a bad connotation, right? It does. And maybe it's
Only for people that are not, if you're a salesperson, you're a consumer.
right. But I mean, Terry, when somebody says that, wow, that seemed really salesy, whether you're great or not, I don't think that has the connotation that we want. It's not like, hey, that was really valuable. You really cared. And, one of our lenders did a fishing trip here in Jersey. Thank you, Matt. And when we're out there, the captain goes, oh, those bonita, they're really not too good. They taste very fishy. And I'm like, you want to eat fish that doesn't taste fishy? Right? We're a salesperson. We don't want to be salesy, but you know what I mean, right? Like, I guess fishy means it's over the top, right? It's overbearing. And maybe that's what salesy means. It's over the top, overbearing, right? And probably it smells just like bad fish when you're doing that. And,
It was delicious though.
right? Thanks, Jay. But, being present and adding value, we can't let our mind think that we're just looking at our sphere and our clients as a commission, because they'll see right through that. Okay, we just need to search for ways to enhance the value. All right, I also often talk about, like, relationships are kind of like your debit card, right? If you meet somebody, you can't ask for stuff. It's like if you go to the bank and there's no money in the relationship account, your ATM is going to say denied. You can't withdraw more money than you put in, right? So you can't harvest more from relationships than you invest in them, if that makes any sense, right? There's no shortcut. You can't just show up at the high school football game once and just try to hand out brochures, say, hey, anybody selling a house? It's not going to work. People are going to think of you as that person that we don't aspire to be in this business. They're going to see you as transparently, just looking to profiteer from your access to them, right? It's like if you're in the neighborhood condo association and you take everybody's email and you constantly email them, you want to sell your house, right? Kind of like violates the spirit of the community that you're trying to be part of, right?
Yeah.
I would be a little bit annoyed. Maybe, if you add a lot of value and then maybe, you put something out there, hey, here's what things are selling for, right? Instead of saying, I want the business, if you want any information, let me know. Instead of, if you want to list your house, then that's the way that you probably get around it. But you have to do all those other steps first.
Hey,
Right.
Rob, there's a comment in the chat from Bridget Upchurch, where she says that about 90% of her business is repeat or referral. She said she had a client who referred to her and they had 5 properties.
Wow.
And 2 other clients passed that one though. But I feel like I'm a little more salesy. When you say salesy, I feel like I let everybody know that I'm in the business. I help them sell real estate. Heck, I'll be in waiting in line at Starbucks. While we're waiting, does anybody need help buying or selling a home in the area? And they'll laugh, and every once in a while somebody will say, me, or my grandmother, or, whatever, or somebody behind the counter. Do you do rentals? That kind of thing. It's just always being present, wearing your name tag, that kind of thing. But that particular referrer, I used to work with, and at a former, it's Rosenwabel, a local real estate firm that no longer affiliated with, but Their corporate policy was that the property managers couldn't sell real estate. So I networked with them, and of course they had sellers that had purchased properties, 2007 through 9. And I had all these buyers, that wanted to purchase homes and stuff like that. So I had the collaboration with her, but then it became personal, where she started sending me her daughter, her best friend, a boyfriend that wanted to sell a home. So, it's all about putting it out there and, letting people know that I'm in the business.
Anyone's ever watched 2.5 Men? When Charlie Sheen dies on the program and his mother's getting up and doing the eulogy. I loved my son so much. And by the way, his 3-bedroom condo is now available. It was the best.
Right. And little things too, like doing open houses. You have just 30 seconds to get in there and meet these people, to know, love, and trust you, whether or not they become clients or just a contact that you follow up with. When they come in, I ask them, can you do me a favor? I know everybody's busy. Instead of giving you a business card, can you go ahead and just put me as your realtor in your contact? And people will pull out their phones and put their contact in my realtor or realtor. They don't have to say my, but just realtor. So when they are in the market and they are ready to buy, and when you do that and they become your clients, I'm getting ready to list another property that one of my first properties that I sold 12 years ago. He was going through his phone and he wants to put his house on the market. He's doing some renovations and stuff like that. And next week we're going to be listing it. So all because when he came to an open house, and he thought it was the funniest thing that you made me put in my realtor in my contacts. It was still in his phone. So he called me.
Bridget, you are not meek and mild. I love it.
No, but Bridget, you have an energy about you where you can get away with that, and that's a high compliment. And again, welcome to the Select Group family. Soon to be a great office in Virginia Beach. Bridget is representing them. I don't know if anybody else is on. By the way, did you get the invite, or you just remembered it was every Friday?
Well, you sent me, the original invite. Yeah.
Wow. Because I
just
realized
save it. I put it in my calendar, and I don't make any comments around it.
I forgot to send the reminder out, so I'm very impressed. So if you have any referral business in Virginia Beach, and how far do you cover there?
All of Hampton Roads. Justin Watson is also on the call. I was taking a look to see who all our people are that were able to join us. And he's in what did he do? He's the president of his son's school, the PTA president. So, okay. And he's not really salesy, but he sponsors the events and stuff like that, but he's always wearing his name tag. He looks like he is Remax and he's ready to help. So I don't know if he's gotten any business or can speak to it, but I did see that he was on the call.
Welcome all the abundant referrals to the greater Virginia Beach Metro. You now know somebody in the Virginia Beach market. And I really appreciate you sharing, Bridget. You inspire me. So
and it looks like you have great taste in tequila as well.
Where's my tequila? oh yeah. That's all gone. I just like the bottle.
Yeah, I have one too.
When she was mentioning that, when she's in line at Starbucks, I tell the agents too, I said, whenever you're at the grocery store or any kind of like Home Depot, keep your ears open and listen to people's conversations, because sometimes they'll say, well, I just had a house I was trying to buy and it fell through, or I'm looking to sell my house, and they're talking to the person next to them. Hey, that's the time for you to shine. That's the time to hand out your business card. I can't tell you how much money I've made off of doing that. And when in your restaurants, hand your card. I mean, if you want to be ballsy, hand your cards out to the waiter or the waitress and say, listen, I'm in real estate. If you know anyone, maybe your chef might be looking to buy or sell. It's worked for me. I've sold a lot of chefs' houses in the past. So you can't be meek and mild in this business. You got to be a little bit outgoing. So you have to, not sound salesy, but come across like, you're there to help anybody that's looking to buy or sell or invest. I love it, Bridget. Good for you.
So Ron, I'm gonna play off that comment. One time I was out to lunch with one of our team members, and you know, she asked the hostess, the server, and then she tells the server, "Hey, can you send the manager over here?" And I'm thinking, was there hair in the food or something? And of course, she asked the manager, "Do you know anybody that I could help looking to, buy or sell a house in the area?" Right? And yeah, Hector, don't be a secret agent. But I mean, and that's one of our top producers that's doing that, and it's just doesn't have to think about it. It comes natural. Terry, do you remember when we went to the to that restaurant with the deck there?
Yes.
And you're wearing your name tag, and what did the restaurant manager that sat us down do?
Oh, I'm looking to buy.
Can't find something, right?
Yeah, because he didn't qualify for anything, but that was beside the point.
Right.
But he was
But
such a nice guy.
but you got the opportunity, right? We got the opportunity, right? In other words, like we didn't
Exactly.
even ask him. We just were there with our goofy name badges. I was like, "Oh, you're in real estate."
Yeah, he approached us.
So
Yes.
those are some of the things that make who would like to have 6 extra transactions without working really hard, right? By doing those type of activities, you're going to see that happen. So when you go to your dry cleaner, when you go to your dentist, your doctor, your favorite restaurant, they should know, and they should be thinking about, oh, I know this, this couple, they're going to be moved. They came here, they said they're going to be moving in 3 months to Maryland, right? And they have a beautiful 4-bedroom house to sell, right? Like Terry at the eulogy. Hey, they have a beautiful 4-bedroom house they have to.
Exactly.
So, I'm not even joking about that. Those are things that we need to open up those conversations. Otherwise,
Hang out at the funeral parlor.
not that one, Terry, but you need
I
to.
know it's a joke.
I know it was some of
But
those who.
that's the beauty of wearing your badge.
Yes.
Because even if you're not consciously thinking about it, people still see that badge on your lapel that says, "Hey, I'm a realtor," and they may approach you. I've had that happen to me in Costco a couple of times. So the badge is your entryway into the conversation if you feel like you're a little bit shy.
Yep.
I have a funny, Rob, you always love my funny stories. So I have.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Colleen.
I started wearing my badge upside down. You would be amazed how many people come up to me and tell me my badge is upside down. It's just a way of entering conversation.
That's great.
Yep, a free conversation. So Terry, you had something?
Yeah, so I met this gentleman and he's like, my wife is always complaining our house is too small. Let me take your number. I want to give you a call and see what we can work out. A week later, I have a woman calling me. Why is your phone number in my husband's telephone? And I said, can we meet somewhere? I don't want to meet you. I want to know. I said, I don't want to disclose this, but your husband wants to surprise you and wants to look for a bigger house for you. Well, she became one of my best friends. So that was kind of funny.
Yep. I also want to just, for those of you who are interested in that litigation, just to switch gears for a second, Nick Bailey sent out an email if you care to look into it. And, I don't know that it was super definitive about what's going on, but some of the things I picked up on it are, they're no longer requiring us to put out compensation. And that seems to be like a common thread to, staying out of the crosshairs of over aggressive attorneys. And it appears there may no longer be a requirement for you to be a member of NAR going forward. So that's what I gleaned from the email. You might want to take a look at it. And the settlement for that big, massive lawsuit isn't finally resolved. It's not going to have any impact on us. the mothership Remax Corporate has actually provided a indemnification for everybody in the network, broker owners and agents from that litigation. So that's good news. Interesting reading. Don't know where it ultimately leads, but I just wanted to alert everybody to that.
So actually I had someone that I had been in real estate class with, and I don't know if he was just trying to be, you know, whatever, but he texted me and said, how do you think this is going to affect, you know, our business or something? So, I mean, if someone does find the need to bring that up, how am I answering them?
How is the litigation going to affect the business? My answer, my answer would be, you know, for those companies that aren't as transparent as Remax, they're going to have to up their game and disclose stuff that we're already doing.
Okay.
Right. So, and I don't think that, you know, Remax or any of the major brokers had any structural challenges with the way that they did it. I just think that some attorneys, you know, progressed some arguments. And if you really read between the lines of the Remax thing, I think they spent $20 million defending it. And they said, look, we just want to put this behind us and stop spending money on attorneys and get back to delivering value to our agents. So that's really the message behind the message in my opinion. And now Colleen's picture is upside down on the screen, so she must want to get called.
But now her badge is right side up.
Yeah, when she turns herself upside down, I can read her name. So this weekend, whatever you're doing, or even today, you know, when you stop anywhere, you go to the bank to make a deposit. Don't go to the ATM. Just bring it to the teller and say, hey, by the way, you know, do you know anybody? Introduce yourself. Okay. You go to a restaurant, you know, introduce yourself, feel comfortable in the way that you do it, because the first 2 or 3 times you might have a little bit of anxiety. You might feel like you're being a little salesy, but you know, if you don't put yourself out there, you never get anything back in return.
I actually did this twice yesterday. First I was at Kohl's and I noticed an older woman, a couple of older women. So I was like, ooh, that's some bait in my area. So, but I was looking at the hand towels and we're looking at the price and how much is this? I was like, oh, you know, I think it's this much. And I said, oh, you know, I love these. I get these for my clients. You know, seasonal towels. And because I'm an agent, I'm a real estate agent. And just so and they're like, oh, that's such a good idea, blah, blah, blah. You know, and I just throw it out there to see if, and it wasn't a situation where I gave them my card, but I did give my card to the man at the jeweler in Cranford that was piercing my daughter's ears yesterday, because we were there for a while. And I said, oh, do you live locally? You know, so I start the conversation like that. Oh, do you live here? He said, no, Berkeley Heights. I go, oh, Berkeley Heights. My clients want to get into Berkeley Heights so badly. They love it there. Do you know anything of, you know, coming up? And then before I left, he asked me for my card.
Yep. And, you know, if that happens, you know, 39 times a month, you'll probably get 3 referrals and 1 close.
Here's hoping.
Well, you know, I don't think it's hope. I think, you know, it's a numbers game, right? And if you have enough, you make enough conversations, you know, there's going to be opportunities that come from those. And in this business, you know, you only need, you know, a handful of people that are raving advocates for you, right? That are maybe even marketing better than you are, because if your client is telling their neighbors what a great job you did, okay, there's a lot more credibility than us trying to craft that message and brag on ourselves, right? Oh yeah, I'm so great. I did this, I did that. That's really not what inures people to be attracted to us, right? We have to have that attraction concept instead of the chasing concept, right? Now we do need to make contacts, you know, so you might perceive it as chasing. But if you disassociate yourself from the outcome and you focus on the activities, it makes it a lot easier, right? So if your database is in, you know, code 911, it's in big, you know, spend half an hour a day trying to clean that up, figure out where you're going to put it in KV Core. If you're not there yet with KV Core, put it into a spreadsheet, and then just get in the habit of reaching out to people. Okay. There are so few people that have the structure in their business, right? We always like to solve problems, right? Oh, I got this email. Oh, this person didn't do their job, and our day gets distracted and it gets taken away from us. And then we don't do what could really change our lives and what could change the lives of people that we know, right? So think differently, put yourself out there, get more comfortable in having these conversations. Amy, would you be comfortable, asking the server at your next night out for dinner, hey, do you know anybody, and asking them to send over the manager?
Very, especially after I've had one cocktail.
Okay. So
Rob,
before you have 4, go ahead.
Rob, I just wanted to share with the agents something that I've been doing that I think is helpful. So I don't rely on my memory to really get me through the hurdles. And I think that when I attend a training session, I write down all these good ideas, but then I go about my business and then I forget the good ideas. So Matt gave us this journal, and I kind of told you in the beginning of the year that or beginning of September, that was my beginning of this year, that I would start writing down things that I thought I would be doing in my business. So I just want everyone to know that even though I wrote it down, some of those things I have not done yet. And it's because I'm relying on my memory to kind of recall what we learn in these sessions. But then I'm all right, well, in this session, I learned X, Y, Z. And so now the notes are kind of bringing me back to the accountability part. So I know that that's probably not sexy for everyone to hear, but yes, keeping something like this is helpful. So even conversations that I've had with buyers or sellers, now it kind of, I'm able to remember it better because I wrote it down. And I don't know, maybe it's because I'm getting older that I can't remember it, but now I'm all right, now I got to keep this journal, because if I don't, then, something might fall through the cracks. So if you like Bobby's idea of calendars, write it down, and then when you're low in business, you're well, what can I do? You go back to the well. This is the well, these are your good ideas that you wanted to do and that maybe you haven't done yet. So I find that this is helpful. I'm actually going to go back to this today after this meeting. And even in this meeting, everything that I learn, I'll write it down, and then I'll figure out whether or not I want or I should be doing those things. So I just wanted to mention that to the agents, that we're getting a little older and there's a lot thrown at us. So you have to write things down. I think that helps you to remember things.
First of all, thank you for sharing. Secondly is I'm going to just make a little adjustment and say, before you're slow on business, let's be a little proactive instead of waiting until we get freaked out. Okay. It's okay to say, let me start these activities before our business, is subpar. Okay. And that's part of what I think being together as a group does is, we all have the same challenges, and, we're all in this together. And, the great news is it's not that difficult. And sometimes, Angie, it's not about getting old. It's about the repetition makes it second nature for us. So, I know if you've been on these masterminds, regularly, you might think I've lost my mind, and there's an argument for that. But there's a reason why I repeat things, because I really want them to have an impact. Okay, I believe in it. It's frustrating for me to see people struggle when it doesn't need to be. It's frustrating for me to kind of watch somebody make the same mistake, and the mistake might not be you did something wrong. The mistake is more likely you didn't do it consistently, right? Because when you do it more consistently, it just creates that muscle where it becomes easier. Okay. And last Friday, we talked about a peer-to-peer happening on Monday, and I kind of messed that up. I sent Fred a message. I did the video, but I didn't tell him to send it out because we weren't doing it. This Monday, we're going to do one on networking groups. And I'm going to have a couple of your peers on talking about how, whether it's a BNI or one of those type of, networking groups that you get together. I think most of them are weekly, and they usually get you out of your house early in the morning to meet with other referral sources to get you business. And I don't know anybody that's been doing that regularly that doesn't get business from it. Is anybody on this call in a networking group where you get up at 6:30 to go to a diner at 7 o'clock every Thursday and you talk about referrals? Is anybody doing that in the group?
Yes. With the,
that?
with the Delray Chamber. We're going to meet at our office next Thursday.
Great. All right, Chrissy, and so is that once a month?
Twice a month.
Twice a month?
So we have leads group for the chamber, one person per category.
And how long have you been doing that, Chrissy?
Well, this is a new one, but I've been doing leads groups my whole life.
And most of them are, twice a month or once a week?
Yes.
And dare I ask, do you get, 1, 2, or more deals a year from those efforts?
Yes, it takes me a long time, but they're really good connections. They're solid connections, and they're great because I can refer my people to people I know I'm going to see every week, and they're going to do the job.
Right. So my experience has been, if you're on the real estate side of one of those, that it's probably 3 or 4 transactions a year for a getting up early one day a week and building relationships with other business people in your local market. Okay. And the cost is very inexpensive. You could probably accomplish that all for less than the cost of one lead in Mendham, New Jersey, or one Zillow lead in maybe Davie, Florida. I mean, it's really not that expensive. It's more about, the effort and the commitment. So if you're interested, Monday morning at 9:30, we call that the peer-to-peer learning experience, where I am so impressed with what some of your peers have done that I tap them on the shoulder and say, hey, would you mind sharing with the rest of the group so that, we can look in your eye, we can hear the tonality of your voice of how this is changing your business, right? Because can you imagine if, the power of 600 or 700 agents can be harnessed, through a format? I mean, we have so many people doing so many things at high levels, and if we could share, it's phenomenal.
Bad information.
Um,
Today's appointment's not at 11, it's at 11:30.
That if you're interested, look for that email coming out on Monday morning. Hop on at 9:30, and this session is going to be about business networking groups. Okay, so if you do the business networking groups, you do the pop buys with the calendars, you talk to some of the local business people, you consolidate your database into a useful function, and then you time block. I mean, you could probably have don't tell your managers or your spouses, but you could probably only work 20 hours a week and make 6 figures. Okay. And that's the reality. Is if you spent your time doing the right things, okay, you could have a pipeline of consistent business. You can not be stressed out, and just hold yourself accountable to the things that that you should do. Okay. If you're doing a BNI group and you're not getting, 2 to 4 transactions, maybe you want to switch the group or talk to somebody else who's doing great and learn from others, because, there's I don't know, look in your market and figure out what's 4 transactions worth to you, and say, is that worth getting up on a Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday morning early to get that business? And the last thing I want to leave you with is, how many times do you have one of those 2 to 4 transactions that leads to 12 other transactions, right? So Bridget, the peer-to-peer is the same email, it's the same link as this, but I'll make sure I get it sent out to your entire office. How many times do you have like a relationship that you build, and that one relationship you can trace over 3, 5, 10 years, like 20 transactions? Does anybody think, I see Robert shaking his head, if you think about that, sometimes that one transaction is not just that one commission check, but there's the sister, the brother, the neighbor, the friend, the kids, right? I mean, there can be a long, valuable chain of relationships and compensation that comes from that one relationship. So I wish you all a fantastic weekend. Please, assess your database, talk to your manager, reach out to me when you're doing your business planning. You give yourself a grade on your database and let's try to improve it. And let's try to time block some time to dedicate towards reaching out to your database, your clients, the people that trust you, and your sphere of influence. And that will not only make you a more successful business person in real estate, but it also feels really good. It feels great when you have certainty in your business. You know that things are going to happen. Even if you have a slow month, you know that your pipeline is strong and you're doing the right things. Thank you all.
Hey, Rob, do you have a minute after the
Hey,
call?
Rob, thank you.
If anyone wants any questions, I'll stay on.
Just a quick comment, Rob. If you make 5 calls in the morning to your sphere, just to touch those people, it'll do 2 things for you. It might get you some business, but the other thing it'll do is it'll start your morning happy. These people are happy with you. They're nice, friendly calls to make. I know usually in the morning we have a lot of, ugly frogs to swallow, but make those the first 5 calls you do every day. And in a week, you'll have touched a lot of people in your sphere.
Yep. And you also feel like you've accomplished something. So you have momentum, right?
Exactly. It's like an adrenaline rush, and it's a good way to start the day.
Yep. Well, thank you for sharing that. And Mickey.
Yeah. Hey, Rob, actually, I can just call you. It doesn't need to be on Zoom, or we can stay on Zoom also. It really is just
Something that
an
others
issue.
benefit from or no?
Say that again?
Something that others could benefit from or no?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Good.
So I know earlier on you had said that we don't really have to put our notes in both KV Core and Zillow. So all my Zillow leads, I maintain and I keep my notes. And I'm sorry if I'm out of breath. I'm actually on my Peloton, double tasking. But anyway, so, and often what I find, and I just had a client that fired me because I'm working with them and I've been, showing them, and they're not like the most, how should I say, responsive, but, I've met with them. I've showed them properties a few times. They're kind of on the cusp right now, whether they want to buy now or later. But in any event, they're getting emails from KV Core, and she just sent me, and I'll be happy to share with you. She just sent me a snapshot of a property that was sent to her that was $1.5 million. So she says, I could see that you obviously have no, I forget exactly what she said, but basically the gist was that, I have no concern for what her, criteria is. And I'm just sending her things at random, and thanks, but no thanks. I'll do my own searches going forward. So, I find that happens a few times with KV Core, and I shouldn't, if it's a Zillow lead, I shouldn't have to go in KV Core and make sure that they're not on that auto email, whatever it is that the KV Core sends out.
So I would say that there's a positive side to this, Mickey, which is maybe now when you get a Zillow lead, it forces you to go into KV Core, fix that one, and see what else you need to do.
Yeah, but I don't want to. I don't want to have to go into KV Core and do it's double work. Why should I have to do? You said last time that you really didn't care if we maintain KV Core, and because it's just double the work. And I have, enough hours in a day to do all the things that I need to do. I shouldn't have to duplicate my work.
How often do you go into KV Core?
Not very.
Okay,
and I don't get any benefit from KV Core. I don't get any leads from KV Core.
I want to just, stop one quick second. I mean, part of what I think I'm going to try to express to you is that maybe part of your habit should be to go into KV Core and learn a little bit about it, because, what do you use as a database?
I have my own. I have my own list of people that I stay in touch with, that I connect with, that I work for, that I, that I network with. And I have, plus all my clients, get pretty much monthly calls or emails or something from me. So I do stay in touch with with all my clients.
I guess I'll have to see if we can disconnect it from there, but I think that, it might be a hidden benefit just to have you go on to KV Core, and you might see people that are in KV Core that are raising their hand saying, hey, can you help me with this? And if you don't log in, you might not even, that might be invisible to you.
But didn't you say last time we had this conversation, didn't you say that you don't care if we maintain both KV Core and Zillow, as long as we maintain the Zillow apps and updated all the information in Zillow? Right. So I've been taking that route, and I have not looked at KV Core much, and I do everything in Zillow.
What I'm saying to you, Mickey, is I'm not going to have Marnelli come to you and say, hey, your Zillow leads don't have notes updated in KV Core. Okay, that's not what I'm looking to do. But as a company, the leads are going into KV Core to create a database for us all, even if they don't buy from us, right? So that was the benefit of us doing it. And the hidden benefit.
I get it, but if I'm actively keeping notes in Zillow and that I'm working with this client, then why do they need to put the auto searches for them? Because and I even list the criteria in my notes that, like this client was looking for 650 was their max price, and they get listings for 1.5. That's kind of.
Mickey, I don't know if it's possible to move auto campaigns that come in now that it's under Max Tech. Okay, and I can get back to you that, but I think, how many leads you get on Zillow a month? Probably not that many, right?
No, not that many.
So in here, go in and unsubscribe them from that. You might see that there's a deal there. Okay. And one tip that I'm going to reiterate from last, and Mickey, if that's not satisfactory, you can reach out to me afterwards. One other tip that I just want to mention that I heard a very positive story, and I don't remember who did it, but there were 5 a day to their sphere, and mostly clients who had bought from them, estimate, and just saying, hey, what's your best? Not saying it's high or low.
You're in and out. You're fading in and out. I didn't hear. Repeat that, please.
So here's something that you can do that I know that had gotten a positive. It actually got a listing appointment from 7 or 8 people, sending out 5 of these in a setting where they took a picture of their clients who bought a house through them, Zestimate of the home on their phone, and then they texted it to the client and said, what's your thought on your Zestimate? Some people I love, and one person said, wow, it's interesting that you said that. We're thinking of putting our house on the market. What do you think? Okay, and that equated into a transaction, and there were 10 or 11 people that did that with one of our leaders, and that resulted into a listing appointment.
Are you saying to clients that I've already sold to take a snapshot of their home?
And go on Zillow, take a snapshot of their Zestimate and text it to them. Your thoughts on this? Right? They might think that's ridiculously low. I could never get it for that, right? And then you start a conversation, right? Easy peasy.
Yeah, no, I mean, I stay in touch with most of them, and I know who wants to sell. Unfortunately, a lot of people are just on hold right now with interest rates. But once things change, I'm going to have an abundance of clients, and I'm good. I'm busy. I'm not starving. I'm not as busy as I would like to be, perhaps, but I'm doing okay. No complaints.
So anyway, there's an idea for something to try that.
Yes, that's a good idea. I can certainly reach out to a couple people that bought a house quite a few years ago that now might want to make a move.
Anybody?
Okay, all right. I guess I'll have to go in KV Core, but I thought I really didn't have to, and I really don't like having to duplicate. But I'll just go in every time I get a lead. I'll go in and just take them off the.
Assign the campaign, and it's not hitting the notes. Anybody else have any questions? Kind of open mic here.
I think everyone's gone. All right, listen. Have a great weekend.
I have 33 people here. Mickey, you have a great weekend. Say hi to Rob.
Will do. All right, take care.
Bye-bye. Is that it? Everybody have a great weekend, all right?
Thank you, Rob.
Take care. Bye-bye.